ऑल राइट सो वेलकम एवरीवन। वेलकम टू आज का मार्केट रैप, जहाँ पे कि फाइनली इन द लास्ट लेग ऑफ द डे वी सॉ अ लॉट ऑफ ग्रीन्स आफ्टर क्वाइट अ फ्यू डिफिकल्ट डेज। सर, क्या चल रहा है मार्केट में एंड क्या लग रहा है यहाँ से?
So I think, hi, good evening, Vishu. So one is, see, the biggest fear of late which had come up was that US is going into a recession because of the early jobs data, and that had pretty bad sentimental effect on the market. But the latest of late data in terms of retail sales plus inflation was okay. So that fear has sort of subsided. The volatilities have dropped. And as a result of that, we have seen US markets making a comeback, and our markets also sort of made a good comeback, especially on Friday. And I think overall sense is that those fears related to recession is largely over. Volatility is down. And we feel that, and one more peculiar thing domestically we have seen at least is that this year, calendar year, market corrects by 5%. And this correction usually sort of lasts for a period of, say, 2 weeks. And this time also, we've seen a correction of a similar size. And whenever this kind of a correction pans out, typically the market heads towards making a new high. So I think last week's low of 24,100 should be kept in mind, but overall sense is that we are headed for a new high. I think mid cap, small cap probably might take some more time to sort of do that catch up, but overall sense is that this correction largely because of global volatility is behind us, and directionally markets are headed higher and should touch new highs. I think one more interesting bit is on the FPI, because see, we have seen the banks and the IT taking the maximum hit. Now, when you sort of look at FPI's or foreign portfolio investors had put in about 75,000 odd crores after the election results. And that led to Nifty making a new high of 25,000. एंड आफ्टर दैट जापानीज सेंट्रल बैंक ने रेट हाइक किया, थोड़ा ज्यादा किया, तो कहीं ना कहीं एंड देन यूएस का डेटा थोड़ा सॉफ्ट आया, तो उसकी वजह से करीब पिछले 3 हफ्तों में हमने 40,000 करोड़ का सेलिंग देखा है। आई थिंक ओवरऑल सेंसेस की इसमें दो तीन चीजें हेल्प हो सकती है। एक तो दिस मंथ एंड में यू हैव एमएससीआई का रीबैलेंसिंग, जिसमें आईसीआईसीआई बैंक वगैरह के वेटेज बढ़ेंगे, तो $3 बिलियन वहां पे इन्फ्लो आना चाहिए। बट इन जनरल आपका सितंबर में फेड का क्योंकि पॉलिसी मीट है, तो एक स्टांस चेंज लगता है कि एफपीआई की तरफ से होगा, तो मार्केट्स आर सेंसेस हेडेड टुवर्ड्स मेकिंग अ न्यू हाई।
राइट सर। सर, आई थिंक हमारा Q1 25 रिजल्ट सीजन इज ऑलमोस्ट, उसका भी टेल एंड आ गया है, तो हाउ वाज इट ओवरऑल दिस क्वार्टर?
Yes, so a hectic quarter, like most of the quarters. Now, when you look at numbers, तो numbers थोड़े soft लगते हैं, and वो एक कहीं ना कहीं confidence कम करता है, because अगर आप निफ्टी लेवल में देखें तो जो टॉप लाइन ग्रोथ है 9.5% का है, प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ 5% का है। बट आई थिंक इसमें काफी सारे कैच हैं। सो वन इज कि आपका जो लास्ट ईयर का बेस था या आपका जो है एबिटा मार्जिन थे वो हाईएस्ट थे। सो उस हाई बेस पे ग्रो करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है। दूसरा है कि देयर आर सम सेक्टर्स जहां पे थोड़ा प्रेशर ज्यादा था, स्पेशली ऑयल एंड गैस। एंड आई थिंक सो ऑयल एंड गैस में अगर आप देखिए दो तीन चीजें हुई है। वन तो आपके जीआरएम्स जो होते हैं, ग्रॉस रिफाइनिंग मार्जिन होते हैं, जो कोर होते हैं किसी भी डाउनस्ट्रीम कंपनीज के, वो सॉफ्ट थे। प्लस मार्च में अपने फ्यूल के प्राइसेस कट किए थे, एंड उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि जो आपके मार्केटिंग मार्जिन थे वो भी इम्पैक्ट हो गए थे। तो उसका इम्पैक्ट कहीं ना कहीं इस क्वार्टर में दिखा, एंड उसकी वजह से अगर आप देखेंगे तो नंबर्स थोड़े सॉफ्ट हैं। अगर वो नंबर्स आप हटा के देखते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं आपका फिर जिसमें रिलायंस को भी मैं एक्सक्लूड करना चाहूंगा, तो ओवरऑल जो आपका प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ है ऑयल एंड गैस को अगर आप एक्सक्लूड करके देखते हैं तो 15% का है। तो मेरे हिसाब से वो नंबर्स काफी अच्छे हैं, या खराब तो नहीं मैं मानता, क्योंकि ओवरऑल जो हमारा साल का एक्सपेक्टेशन है करीब 11% का है। तो दैट वे नंबर्स में कोई खराबी नहीं है। देखिए, ऑयल एंड गैस में ये सीजनल फ्लक्चुएशंस चलते रहते हैं, एंड ओवरऑल सेंसेस की शायद अगला क्वार्टर भी थोड़ा सॉफ्ट आएगा, बट सेकेंड हाफ में रिकवरी बेटर होगी। नाउ नंबर्स देखने के और भी पर्सपेक्टिव होते हैं, जैसे एक लोग कंपेयर करते हैं लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप। नाउ एक स्मॉल कैप में हमेशा एक ये कंसर्न रहता है कि सबसे ज्यादा वैल्यूएशन है, बबल्स हैं। बट आई थिंक अर्निंग्स भी देखनी चाहिए। तो अर्निंग्स के हिसाब से अगर आप देखिए तो पिछले 4-5 क्वार्टर में आप देखेंगे स्मॉल कैप का अर्निंग जो ग्रोथ है कंपेयर टू मिड कैप या कंपेयर टू लार्ज कैप्स ज्यादा रहता है। आई थिंक इस क्वार्टर में भी वैसे ही है। अगर आप लार्ज कंपनीज का बात करें तो वहां पे आपका जो प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ है 5% है, बट मिड कैप का 12.5% है, एंड जो स्मॉल कैप है वो करीब 21% है। तो दैट वे आई थिंक कहीं ना कहीं वहां पे अर्निंग ग्रोथ भी उस हिसाब से, जिस हिसाब से स्टॉक्स चले हैं, तो इसीलिए मुझे कोई स्ट्रक्चरली बहुत इश्यूज नहीं लगते मिड कैप में। हालांकि वन नीड्स टू बी वेरी सेलेक्टिव एंड बिकॉज काफी बड़ा यूनिवर्स है, यू विल गेट अपॉर्चुनिटीज, यू हैव पॉकेट्स वेयर वैल्यूएशंस आर रिच और इन बबल जोन आल्सो, but in general earning wise I think overall decent set of numbers. One more perspective is to look at numbers sectorally, तो आप सेक्टर वाइज भी देखते हैं तो देखिए सेक्टर्स में जो सबसे अच्छे नंबर्स आए हैं वो डेफिनेटली ऑटो के हैं। उसमें सबसे बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन इज कमिंग फ्रॉम टू व्हीलर्स, बिकॉज टू व्हीलर्स में लिटरली वॉल्यूम जो ग्रोथ था वो काफी अच्छा था, करीब 20% का वहां पे अर्निंग ग्रोथ था, क्योंकि वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ भी करीब उतना ही था। देन दूसरा है कि फार्मा इज सीइंग अ गुड टर्न अराउंड, स्पेशली द यूएस ऑपरेशंस। सो आई थिंक वहां पे भी अगर आप देखेंगे तो जो ओवरऑल ग्रोथ है फार्मा में करीब 24% का है वाई, and which is clearly reflected in the numbers of most of the pharma companies which we have seen. एंड आई थिंक जो नंबर्स खराब थे वो जैसे मैंने हाईलाइट किया, ऑयल एंड गैस के वाई करीब 32% का डिप है, क्योंकि ओवरऑल जो प्रॉफिट पूल में ऑयल एंड गैस का एब्सोल्यूट अमाउंट काफी रहता है, तो ऑयल एंड गैस में अगर कुछ if there is some fluctuation there, then the overall profitability also sort of fluctuates. But in general, I think oil and gas is largely commodity driven, so I think overall senses की वो numbers आगे आके ठीक ठाक हो जाएंगे। तो earning wise, I think while एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स में थोड़ा फ्लैटिश लगता है बिकॉज आप सिंगल डिजिट ग्रोथ में देख रहे हैं, बट इन जनरल अगर आप कमोडिटी का स्प्रेड को अलग करके देखते हैं, देन आई थिंक अर्निंग्स आर हेल्दी।
Right, sir. Sir, I think another big situation that developed this week was the mines and mineral industry, where I think they are looking at yet another entity that can demand tax from them, that is the states. So how will this situation pan out according to you?
So difficult to say at this point in time, but it's a Pandora's box with which could have far-reaching implications. Now, what the court has said is that it has given basically the states the power to sort of levy and collect taxes on minerals starting from 2005. And this has to be paid starting from 2026 onwards. So what this means is that somewhere down the line, the companies or the mining companies will have to pay, or they'll have to do the pass on. Now, pass on also is a big challenge because suppose if you have supplied coal and coal got used for generating power and that has already been consumed, eventually it's very difficult to get that money from the eventual buyer. So obviously it disrupts the entire sort of a value chain, and which is why things are a bit sort of uncertain there. I think the biggest company, according whatever we track, which will get impacted is one is Coal India, because 27% of their volumes are coming from Mahanadi coal fields, which is in Orissa. And then I think overall it will have also implications for some of the steel companies. So companies are still trying to sort of figure out the extent of impact they will have. Structurally, our sense is that there will be some measures which the central government can take because they can sort of change the MMDR Act, or they can file a sort of a reappeal. In addition to that, one also needs to see that the two key opposing states were Jharkhand and Orissa. Now, Orissa has a NDA-led government, so our sense is that probably a better sense will prevail, and which is why we are not that much worried. While we have seen companies taking some bit of a price knock, but we feel that there will be some way out going forward, and which is why we continue to maintain a buy call on Hindalco, JSW Steel, Coal India.
Right, sir. Talking about Hindalco, I think results were out this week. So what happened there, sir?
So Hindalco's numbers were quite good. One is, if you look at overall consolidated basis, top line grew by 8% because one, I think the US operations are sort of doing very well, both turnover wise and also the EBITDA per ton wise. I think the surprise was on the copper side. I think copper business, the EBITDA per ton sort of jumped up by 48%. So that way it did well. The other aspect is that company is focusing more on the
All right.
downstream side of the business. So, which also means that somewhere down the line, it is going to work more in favor of expanding the margins, because now you are focused, rather than sort of selling pure aluminum, you are looking to sort of do more of a value addition in terms of participating in sectors like auto. So, auto, if you look at alloy wheels, carries aluminum. So, so you are finding newer applications for these aluminum, and that is going to sort of help. Similarly, on the renewable energy space, and which is why we like this company, because while the capex on the primary aluminum is not going to be so much, but you are doing a lot more capex on the downstream side, where the valuation or where the margin profile is going to be better. And which is why I feel that this company should do good with a target price of 825.
Right, sir. Another big company with the results this week was NMDC. So what happened there, sir?
So NMDC numbers were soft. I think what saved the NMDC was the 500 rupee per ton kind of a price hike of what they had taken on a YY basis. While the volumes were down, revenues were flat. EBITDA also sort of improved because you had taken a sort of a price hike. And I think, see, while the numbers look good, but overall sense is that if you look at the entire value chain, especially on the ferrous side, things are soft. Steel prices are making newer lows. And that is largely to do with the fact that China is not doing so well. A lot of dumping is sort of going on. And I have my own set of worries that if US post-election tries to levy more or puts some tariff barriers, then this overall what you call dumping can sort of escalate. So I think some measures need to be taken by the government, and obviously it will have implications for a key input like iron ore. And NMDC also is going to sort of react according to that. So metal as a pack is not doing so well, largely because prices are depressed. China is not really doing so well, and which is why the stock could languish at least in the near to medium term.
Right. Going to a little better side of the story, I think multiplexes are looking somewhat better. There's a huge, good lineup, it seems, sir. What's the expectation there?
So first half was quite challenging because you had multiple events. Then you had Olympic also this time. Till now, most of the movies did not do well. But I think this being a good weekend, so we have seen two delivering or getting a massive opening of about 54 odd crores. And I think there were some other movies which also sort of did well. So Kalki or Deadpool or one more English movie. So things are incrementally getting better. And our sense is that in the H2, things will become even more better because you have a good lineup of movies, the likes of Pushpa 2, Joker 2, Singham again. And a lot of movies are sort of lined up. I think the only company which one can really sort of look at for tapping this opportunity is PVR Inox. There we have a target price of 1700. One more thing specific to the company is that they are looking to monetize some of their assets to the tune of 300 to 350 odd crores. So that will sort of again lighten up their balance sheet. But I think the worst of the thing is over for multiplexes, and I think things have started to sort of look a lot more brighter for PVR. I know. Let's see how sort of collection pans out, and also the kind of lineup and the kind of response we get. But I think these are good levels from a risk reward perspective.
Right, sir. Sir, my next question is about a stock that has really skyrocketed, and I think it has been in almost every retail investor's portfolio or in their wish list, as everybody is just looking for an in into this stock, which has been HAL. So I think results were out. So what's the lookout right now?
So HAL numbers are steady because we've seen 11% kind of a growth. Margins were flattish, 23 odd percent. PAT is up higher largely because of the tax refund what they got. But I think, in HAL, in the near term, things are really not looking that great because of not the issues with the company, but because of external issues. So, for example, of their entire order backlog, 35% is LCA Tejas Mark 1A. Now, we all know that the Indian deliveries from GE are sort of getting delayed. So, obviously, it will have impact. It will impact the timelines for HAL also to deliver the aircraft. And then possibly this year, the revenue also recognition could be slightly slower. So that is the only pain area. Otherwise, our sense is that when you speak to the company, they are clearly highlighting that while they have order book of 94,000 odd crores, there is a potential worth of contracts of say 1.6 to 1.7 lakh crores, which is expected to be placed with HAL in the next 1.5 to 3 years. And then there is a possibility of additional LCA Mark 1A, which will sort of get placed. And on top of it, company is also sort of building newer generation of aircraft like AMCA and other. So outlook looks equally bright. It is just that in the near term, revenue could probably be softer because of these engine related issues. And which is why we are maintaining our target price of 5,700 on the stock. Overall, we don't see much of a challenge for the company structurally. Near-term issues because of this engine can have some impact. We have already seen stock sort of correcting 20% from the top, but I think we are positive on the stock from a structural perspective, but some consolidation cannot be ruled out.
Right, sir. Moving on to another favorite of the retailers, which is gold, but not exactly gold. Let's talk about gold financials. What is the outlook in this sector, sir?
So gold financing as a segment is quite a lucrative segment. So you had two companies, which is Muthoot Finance and Manappuram, which were there. Now these companies in the last 4-5 quarters were struggling because now banks also realize that it's a good segment to be into. And it's a sort of a secure segment because gold prices have been sort of inching up, and that obviously helps in terms of better recoveries. And that led to some competition, and these companies were facing the brunt of it in the last 4-5 quarters. Now things have sort of stabilized for them. One, the yields have stabilized. They are seeing decent traction on the AUM because the gold prices have gone up. So both of them reported good double-digit growth. NI growth has come back. Asset quality concerns are really not there. So I think, and things are sort of stabilizing for them. So I think going forward, these companies, see, NBFC as a overall is sort of struggling, although besides banks. I think this is one sort of a sweet spot where since the gold prices are taking up higher, things have been better. And our sense is that if the interest rates in US sort of come down, then the attractiveness of gold can further sort of go up. So they are in a sort of a sweet spot at this point in time.
Right, sir. Sir, my next question is about a talk that has been going on in the circles right now, which is around GST on insurance products. If in case it happens, how would it play out?
So I'm quite hopeful of this because when you look at the PM's Independence Day speech, he talked about increasing the number of medical seats. I think the entire ecosystem needs expansion, not only the number of medical seats, because what you're looking to do is that increase the insurance coverage for a bigger population. Now, if you have to sort of do that, you can't be really taxing that segment at a very high rate of 18%. So while the GST meeting is lined up next month, but we are hopeful that you will see some reduction in the GST rates. I'll be disappointed if it does not happen. And obviously, if the GST rates do come down, it will have a positive rub-off on companies. One is the ICICI Lombard. I can't really talk more than that. But the other one, which could benefit, is Star Health, because I think this is one company which is largely or only engaged in the health insurance space. But we are seeing this space from a positive light, given the fact that I think most of the things are falling in place for a reduction in GST rates.
Right, sir. And finally, the most awaited segment of the week, weekly hidden gem. What will it be this time, sir?
So Pharma has been sort of holding up well. So I would want to sort of recommend a company called Piramal Pharma. This company has had its own fair share of struggles in the past, but I think things are now sort of improving. So for them, the biggest segment is CDMO. And CDMO, by the way, we are quite bullish on this particular segment of the pharma because of the multiple benefits. One is that you have US Biosecure Act, which is going to sort of help more in terms of rewiring of the supply chain opportunities towards India, because India has one of the highest US FDA approved plants. Then I think the funding for a lot of these biotech companies is improving. So the outlook or the opportunity pie improves for this company. And so 58% of the revenue is coming from CDMO, and we feel that both revenue plus margin profile is expected to be better. The second is the complex hospital generic space, which is 30% of their revenues. There also, our sense is that things are going to sort of shape up better. So here also we feel that overall margin profile is going to get better. And then you have the domestic segment, consumer healthcare, which is on a sort of steady number, and margin profile there also is expected to improve. So a combination of all this, if you sort of look at our sense is that the top line growth could be 12-13 odd percent, but we are going to see a good amount of improvement in the margins. So from nearly 14.5% to closer to 18 odd percent kind of a margin. And that should lead to a good jump in profitability to about 500 odd crores for this company from I think 17, 18 odd crores, which it had witnessed in FY24. So we are seeing a good or we are expecting a good turnaround in the operations. And which is why I feel that this company should do well with a target price of 230.
Right, sir. That was all. Thank you so much, Pankaj sir, for taking out time for us. And thank you, viewers, for watching. If you have any questions for Pankaj sir, please do type them out in the comments and we'll try to recover them next week. Thank you so much again for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risk. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.